Oh my God. The heavens opened up. A ray of light shined down on Chris Greer. And they signed some O-line depth. But did it come at a cost? We will discuss that. Plus, veterans reported today to training camp. Also, we'll go over the media availabilities of Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and Darren Waller. We got a lot to talk about. So do me the favor, smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Football's back, baby. Training camp has begun. Let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jaylen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, man open, touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. It's going over the touchdown again.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. As here we go, baby. Let's go. Training camp is underway. You can smell it in the air. No, that's not the BS of all the culture talk. That's football smell in the air. Here we go. All right. I'm so pumped, man. So pumped. Part of me is sad. Well, part of me is sad that I got to go away for a week and celebrate my 10-year anniversary at the beginning of August because I'm so used to just being locked in on camp. And usually if I take my break, it's in that little window between camp ending and, of course, the season starting. But we're switching it up this year. So, hey, man, can't dodge that 10-year anniversary bullet. That's just what it is, all right? So, man, I'm hyped, though. I am hyped. And this is how it's going to go for all of you that want to be in the know. Today was just conditioning and physicals and everything like that. Tomorrow, the shells and light practices will begin. They will have those type of practices Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Remember, Saturday's open up to the public. Technically, there was a practice today, so they're going to get their 5 days in, right? By the CBA rules, day 6, you got to have a mandatory day off. That'll be Sunday. And then it looks like Monday, guys, we're going to get those pads coming on. So we are right around the corner from pads coming on. We're going to jump right into training camp. And within a week, we got pads coming on. Oh, baby, I got some shivers. Look at this. I got goosebumps up here, man. I got goosebumps just talking about it. I'm so hyped. Let's go. Football's back. Shout out to you, Michael. Thank you, sir. Shout out to everyone in the chat right now. I appreciate each and every one of you coming through. Man, it's day 1 of training camp. We got to do a day 1 roll call up in this. Wayne D, Daniel, Brian 35, Pendas, Zia & Co., Costa Nostra, Robert Thomason. Who else we got here? We have Stat Sheet 84, Jason Keck, Junior Rickman, Lemony Crawdad. I don't know did I shout you? No, I didn't. Nick Queck, Andrew Harris, Connor Verhagen, Perfect Tommy, Gavin Hatch, 99. Who else? Joe 305 is in the chat. Gmail CGS also in the chat. Stacy, Jay Myers. Who else we got here? Sabrina Collier. Jay Myers, Foxton around the homie Austin in the chat. Sean Davis, how are you doing, sir? Michael Lombardo, Russell, Franklin and Son, Bad Eggs, Troy Hicks, DC Kai 305, Paul Holland, Ian Baller, Aaron Anders, Greatest Ghost. Let's go. Everton, Brian Shorts. Reginald is in the house. Appreciate you, Reginald. Matthew Gallagher, Andres Lamoza, Everton, Brian Shorts, Day One. Man, y'all are showing up. Kurok 1972, the homie Kevin Williams. All right. Enjoy work, sir. Andy Jackson. Man, y'all are showing up right now. Roosevelt Bowie, Eminem, Emless Marlowe, Adriel Finn, Scotty Joe, Shap Stevens, Mark Hebermill. Shout out to each and every one of you for coming through here. Let me figure something out because I see something in the chat that I gotta take care of real quick. Hold on. All right, so man, y'all are showing up. I see a lot of names that haven't been here the recent slow weeks, huh? Oh man, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But yo, hey, I don't care. Let's just all come together over the greatness that is Miami Dolphins football. I'm excited, man. I am excited. I'm trying to go back in the chat. Why was Joe 305 hidden? All right, chat. I can see it. If someone has the chat open and has his things, and you're a mod, can you please unhide him? Because I can't go back on the normal chat, and I'm trying to unhide him right now. So can someone go back and please take care of that? One of the mods. 1017 man, Ernesto in here. Appreciate Deontay Monroe coming through. James, what's going on, sir? Finn Fan 69. Yeah, Rory, Dennis Clay. Yeah, someone go back. It wasn't me. I noticed it when I was rolling through and reading. I noticed that Joe 305 had been hidden. So can someone please take care of that and unhide him? I know someone in the chat mentioned it. AJR 305. You know, so one of you mods, please take care of that. Why Waller on the pup list? We'll talk about that. Seasoned Apple, how are you doing? All right, so trade Liam for some public subs. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, I can't even, like, I went back to the chat on the site and there's just too much going on right now. So, that's a little bit of an issue. I can't find him. So someone please take care of that. Whoever's a mod, whoever is a mod, please take care of that. All right. What do we got coming through here? Shout out to Russell, member for 30 months. He says, it's a pleasure supporting you. Salute to you, sir. I appreciate you and the constant support, man. So yeah, I appreciate y'all for holding me down. You already know what time it is. So all right, we have quite a bit to get into here. Let me know in the chat, did anyone take care of Joe before I get into this right here? He is now unhidden. Thank you, Robert Thomason. Shout out to Eric Craver. Can always count on the homie Robert Thomason. He's always in the chat. He's one of my mods, and I can count on him to take care of something like that. Appreciate you, Robert. All right. We got a lot to talk about today. Today was a wild one for me today, all right? We're going to get into it here, okay? But I'm going to tell you how my day started off, all right? Hey, shout out to Daniel Barry. Shout out to Bob Oliver. Okay, so this is how I want everyone to know how my morning started off, all right? About 7:15 in the morning, my phone starts blowing up. And I pick it up. I haven't decided if I'm going to that game yet. I will see. So I pick up my phone. And right away, the first thing, okay? Like, you know, I'm not going to lie to you. I went to bed like late last night, man. I didn't crawl into bed till almost like 5 in the morning. So my phone starts blowing up at about 7:15. And, you know, I have a conversation with someone who I won't name. And I basically get told that, hey, Jaylen Wright showed up to camp today, and he went to his locker room stall, and to his surprise, his number was changed. He was no longer number 25. He was number 5. Now, these players showed up at like 6:30-ish. So, I mean, so Jaylen Wright was kind of taken aback. He didn't know why his number had been changed, right? So, right there, I know it's either two things, right? And I mean, shout out to the homie Bobby. They got the dive bar going on. Go check out the dive bar. Everyone hits me up because I put out a thinking emoji. And what my thinking emoji was, okay, they either freed up. There's 3 reasons why this is going down. Number 1, Minkah wants 25 and he's being petty towards X. But I'm like, that doesn't make sense. He was 39 in the Steelers. He was 29 with the Miami Dolphins. There's always that 9 there, right? And Jonnu Smith is gone, so 9 is technically available if you think about it. If anything, he'd take 9, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. He's not going to get 39 because of Zonka. And then I'm like, okay, well, Dante Trader's 29, but it's easy to bump a UDFA off that number. So, I'm like, okay, well, either 1, he's being petty. 2, that boy, Minkah got 29, and they maybe gave 25 to Trader. But actually, that ended up being what the situation was. But actually, I was thinking to myself, like, I didn't think that was a realistic possibility in the sense of, like, why would they bump Jaylen Wright, who's reporting with the veterans? Why would they bump his number for a UDFA? Like, I know old school, you had to, if a player wanted that number, you had to pay for it. But I guess we're not doing those days anymore. But it just didn't make, I was like, okay, well, and then the third option to me was like, oh my Lord, are they freeing up 25 for Xavien Howard? Please God. Because I had heard a couple weeks back that there was contact between the Dolphins and Xavien Howard. And I was like, oh my God, please. No, the guy's been out of the league for 2 years. And my whole stance was they're trying to get those type of personalities out of the building. That's why they're moving off Ramsey. That's why they want to move off Tyreek. They don't want those personalities in the building anymore. So it didn't make sense. I was like, man, I really hope they're not caving because of Rasul Douglas. Because then in Rasul Douglas, I'm like, well, he didn't rock 25. Asante Samuel, he rocked 26 as a Charger. So I'm like, where are we going here with this, And so that's why I put out that thinking emoji. And that's why I put out that I knew a player had been changed to Jalen Ramsey's number because I knew it was Jaylen Wright. I just didn't know where it was going with it. You know what I mean? And obviously we ended up finding out where it was all going. And I just got to say, dodged a bullet with that one, huh? Because, I don't want X back in that room. 2 years removed, the game. See, quarterbacks and cornerbacks, those are probably the 2 hardest positions to take that kind of time away off from the game and come back and try to get back to the level you were. I mean, we've seen what's happened with Deshaun Watson. Michael Vick had to become a pocket quarterback because the athleticism just wasn't the same when he came back, right? I'm just giving a few examples right now. It's usually hard. And corner is one of those positions where it's up here. And like in those positions, it's sad to say, and I know it's, only a year or 2, but like the game can pass you by. 2 years can feel like 5 or 10 years, right? So I was just like, and the last time we saw him, the lower extremity injuries were stacking up for him. We saw him trailing and chasing a lot more than we had. I mean, we could go back to that loss in 2023 against the Tennessee Titans, guys, and he made a critical error in those final couple minutes that led to a big gain and an eventual points for the Titans, right? He got burnt in coverage, right? Will Levis made that nice throw over him because he got burnt, So I was just like, please don't be X. And sure enough, it obviously ended up not being X. But yeah, I was being vague and I was having a little fun this morning. But I just thought it was kind of odd, Usually you inform a player. Now I do know this. And maybe this is where they, they felt they could take away 5 and there wouldn't take away 25 and there wouldn't be an issue. I know Jaylen Wright did put in for 0 this offseason, right when Zach Wilson had arrived, and he was told no because Zach Wilson was getting the number. So I do know that for a fact. I know they were obviously privy to he wanted to go to 0. So maybe that's why they felt, okay, well, we can drop him to 5. You know what I mean? So I know he wanted 0 because obviously he wore that in Tennessee. You know, like I'm telling you, if Ollie Gordon wants 0, he's got to get in line because I don't think Zach Wilson, like I want to get a Jaylen Wright jersey. I want to get a jersey of all my man crushes. What's actually stunted me is how they've changed these jerseys, right? They've gone from those, you know, the vapor jerseys that they were the ones in between the presses, like, you know, the press on numbering and then the stitching, the in-between jersey. They've now gone to, like, you know, the press on numbers. I hate that look. But obviously I want to get all my man crushes, jerseys of all my man crushes. I got to get Chop. I want to get Achane. I want to get Jaylen Wright. But I know I'm going to wait on Jaylen Wright because I don't think Zach Wilson will be here next year. So, you know, I don't think he'll be here next year. And by the way, I got a Patreon and channel member update coming for you guys. I got some news and notes, things I'm hearing. Shout out to Pauly King 305 in the chat. Man, we wish you great health, man. We wish you great health, and hopefully you continue to get better on your road to recovery, man. Shout out to Pauly King in the chat. He's one of the big supporters of this channel. Nothing but love for you, Pauly. Hope everything is good, my friend. Enjoy that time with your kids, man. Enjoy that time with your wife, you know? It's going to be much better than being in a warehouse. I'm telling you that much. So 0 for Zach represents his NFL success. Oh, hey, James Steele said it, not me, but he ain't wrong. Oh my God, here come the people. Well, what are Tua's success? Well, at least Tua's led the league in passing yards, okay? You know, completion percentage, right? You know, passer rating. At least he's led the league in these things. Zach Wilson ain't done jack Bo diddly. So, yeah, Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, am I the only one? You know, like, let's be honest here. Am I the only one that wasn't like, damn, Ozzy's gone today? I mean, you know, it kind of felt like this has been coming for like the last 15 years, no? You know, like, great musician. I'm not knocking him at all. And, you know, it was, you know, the man bit off heads of bats. This guy's a real one. But, I mean, you know, like, are any of us really that shocked? You know, it's like when Ric Flair passes away, with how he's treated his body with his, like, basic alcoholism and how he survived this long. Are we really going to be all shocked when Ric Flair passes away? You know, like, let's be real here. You know, like, yes, it's terrible because it's the closing chapter of these kind of legends. It's terrible. But let me put it this way. Everyone knows, massive hip-hop guy, been a massive hip-hop guy. You know, I was legitimately sad when Prodigy of Mobb Deep passed away, right? One of my favorite rappers ever. You know, I was legitimately sad. I was actually down in Orlando when Nip got shot. And Nip passed away. I was also, because I had a working relationship with Nipsey Hussle when I was in the music industry, so that's why I was sad too. But you know, like, life's cut way too short, you know, and great shining lights dimmed. You know what I mean? Like, you know. So, but yeah, R.I.P. Ozzy. That's a tough one, and I can't imagine what his family's going through. You know. So yeah, like, that's the thing, right? Ozzy and Flair lived lives 100 times over most men on this earth never will, you know? So they lived it to the fullest, you know? So it is what it is, man. Another thing, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Trey Hendrickson left Cincinnati. It has gotten so bad between Trey Hendrickson and the Cincinnati Bengals. Apparently the guarantees beyond year one were just not sufficient enough. This man and his wife packed their belongings and are in Jacksonville right now. You know, that's man. And you got Shamar Stewart returned to Texas A&M. Now he can't play with Texas A&M, but he can attend classes and re-enter the draft next year. Man, that is, oof. The Bengals are, that defense. And I don't know if you guys heard, but I believe, was it Mike Brown? Was it Mike Brown? I think it was Mike Brown, right? I think it was Mike Brown. But anyways, basically yesterday, if you heard, Mike Brown explained the whole contract situation, and he basically said that they want language in the contract where if he does something like off the field detrimental to the team, like a domestic battery charge, something like puts him like, in jail or facing jail time, they don't want to be on the hook for guaranteeing him money. That's basically where it is. They don't want to be in the hook. So they're trying to change the language where if basically there's conduct detrimental to the team that results in potential court proceedings, they want that to be an out. The Aaron Hernandez clause. I'm not even thinking about, okay, that's, how many guys are going to get, Ray Lewis beat the murder case, but how many guys are really going to get hit with murder case? I always tell this story. Back in fantasy, one of my buddies in fantasy football, for the longest time, he's a Ravens fan. For the longest time, his fantasy name was Ray Lewis's white shirt. And it was a picture of the evidence of Ray Lewis's bloodied white shirt. Oh my God, absolutely hilarious. But I think I would use more like Henry Ruggs, right? It's more likely that a player could get involved in a DUI situation, the hit and run situations we're seeing with like Rashee Rice and stuff like that. I think that is more of a realistic, like what they're looking to protect themselves from. I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. All I know is, you're trying to be the 1 out of 32 that everyone makes a special exception for you. And good luck to you, Brown. Good luck to you, Mike Brown and Bengals. That probably not going to happen. Let's be real here. That's probably not going to happen. And then, I don't know if you guys saw it today, but NFL owners have been informally told to be ready for a potential vote next month on an acquisition of league media assets by ESPN parent company Disney. So, guys, we might see this, not only this cap go up, but we're going to see contracts go up if Disney starts dabbling some money into this situation and into the NFL. Right? So, now, Minkah was supposed to talk today. Minkah Fitzpatrick apparently has an illness and apparently has been pushed back to tomorrow. Let's hope he does talk tomorrow. Let's hope there is something and we can hear from Minkah tomorrow. I don't think Minkah is going to be too much of an issue here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If he says he wants a little guaranteed money only for this season, for 2025, I understand where he's coming from. It's guaranteeing money for 2026 and 2027 and beyond where I would that's where I would press the red button. I would give him some guaranteed money this year just to keep him happy because we saw what happened with Connor Williams, right? We don't want to be in that situation again where the Dolphins look like the bad guys because they didn't give Connor Williams any guaranteed money. Instead, let him play it out. And the guy's career ended up basically, ending playing for us. We don't want to be in that situation again because, we look like DICKSs in that situation. So, but I'm not down for guaranteeing any 2026, 2027. Ball out this year, have success this year as a team, and then we can talk about some more money in 2026 and 2027, Minkah. Go return to that all-pro form we know you have in you, and there you go. We can discuss some money coming your way, all right? That's where I stand on the situation. So, but it is expected that we are going to hear from Minkah tomorrow, all right? So everyone be expecting that. If we don't hear from Minkah tomorrow, then that might be cause for raising some eyebrows. Now, I know I talked about Jaylen Wright changing. Here are some number changes on the first day as they reported. Jaylen Wright is 5. Tajay Washington is 7. Now, this is creating quite the stir because Jason Sanders is also 7. So everyone's, maybe Mickey Mouse can play cornerback. Everyone's kind of looking at that one funny, but I don't know. Jake Bailey's the number that should be worried, Ifeatu Melifonwu, he's gotten 9. Dante Trader has switched to 25. Minkah Fitzpatrick, 29. Darren Waller has taken on 83. So listen, all of you that held on to your number 29 Minkah jerseys, you go ahead and go open up your closet, pull that thing out, blow it off, dust it off, however you want to do it, and get it ready, man. Get it ready, all right? Yes, I do. I do think he wants to be in Miami. I think X is gone. Flores is gone. He knows how much Greer adores him. Like, I know you're a channel member and a Patreon, Russell. You saw the story I had. Basically, I can tell you guys this much on his last go-around, right? Flores wanted him gone. And, not only was the X thing going on, Minkah was very vocal about how he wasn't a fan of what Flores' vision for him was in the defense. And basically, Flores, it was the first blow up between Greer and Flores was over Minkah, to the point where Stephen Ross had to fly in from New York and basically mediate a meeting. And Greer didn't want to trade him. Flores wanted to trade him. And then Minkah in that meeting said, listen, you might as well trade me because I don't want to play for this guy. Right? And he also had the stuff going on with X and the baby mama too. So he basically said, I don't want to play for this guy. You might as well trade me. So Stephen Ross told, and I'm paraphrasing my whole article here, but this is what he basically, more the segment of the article. So he basically said to him, Ross pulled Greer, and good old Flores aside, A, let them know he wasn't happy, he had to get involved. B, told them to figure it out. So the agreement they kind of came to, why does it look like, it looks like I got popped. The agreement they came to was basically, all right, we will only trade, this is where how Greer bended, I will only trade Minkah for you if I can get a first round pick. And then we know the Steelers bid on that, and that's how it wants. So yeah, I think Minkah wants to be here. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm not worried about that at all in the slightest. Minkah wants to be here. I know that for a fact. So, all right. Now, hey, let's get into a few things here, okay? So let's start off with some news. Some good news. All right? And that was today. Good news and bad news. I'll explain. The Miami Dolphins announced that they've signed Daniel Brunskill and waived Brett Gabbert. Hey, at least I did my offensive depth chart a week and a half ago when I told all y'all, yeah, he's a camp body. Well, sure, and there you go. They've also placed Liam Eichenberg and Darren Waller on the physically unable to perform list and Ifeatu Melifonwu on the non-football injury list. And I know what you're thinking. Oh boy, here we go again. So let's cover a few things here. We'll save the best for last. I'll save Brunskill for last. We're going to get into that. Okay. Liam Eichenberg and Ifeatu Melifonwu. I'm worried about Melifonwu because, do I need to even explain his injury history in his past? The guy's got a high ceiling and a ton of potential, but what's held him back from reaching that ceiling and reaching that potential? And what's held him back from, he probably would have stayed in Detroit if it wasn't the case. He's always injured. And now you have a non-football injury. So, I hope, I'm going to try and do some digging and find something out about what exactly that is with Melifonwu. With Liam Eichenberg, I'm going to actually have him on my update coming out for you guys this week on things that I've heard. Is going to be, I'm talking about where people are playing, what I've heard about certain people's, a certain battle. I'm going to have some information on the quarterback battle. I'm going to have a pretty good update for all of you. But anyways, Liam Eichenberg on the physically unable to perform list. That's interesting to me because he was there for OTAs. He was there for mandatory minicamp. Now what's the issue? Now, this might be a blessing in disguise because it led to us signing Daniel Brunskill. So you're not going to hear a word from me. All right. Now, Darren Waller. I actually don't view this as a problem. I think this is just Darren Waller getting his conditioning back, his game conditioning back. I think he's in great shape. I just think the fact of the matter is right now, he's trying to get into game shape. Darren Waller's the least one I'm worried about all those three. Ifeatu Melifonwu, with his injury history and being a non-football injury, I'm a little curious. Liam Eichenberg, I mean, he could stay on PUP for all I care, but, you know, I think there's probably something more there than what there is with Darren Waller, right? So, this is where I'm at with this situation. Darren Waller, to me, is just about, you know, just getting game ready, getting in game shape. I don't think that's anything more than that with Darren Waller. Liam Eichenberg, okay, either he's injured or he got into too many bags of Doritos in between mandatory minicamp and where we're at, and he's not in game shape either. So I don't know. Now, I'm gonna assume it's the former, not the latter on what the examples I gave. But, you know, and then Ifeatu Melifonwu. Now, you got to be careful. You got to be, I would tell Melifonwu and Ashton Davis, be careful. You don't want to give reps to McMorris. I'm telling you right now, the more reps you give to Dante Trader and Patrick McMorris, you're probably going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem on your hand. Patrick McMorris looked like he was ready to take on some serious reps before he got hurt last offseason. I can only imagine where he is right now. And Dante Trader, let's be real here. He's privately, what I've heard, been like a top 3, top 4 rookie through rookie minicamp, OTAs, and mandatory minicamp. So be careful is all I'm saying. You're playing with fire and you might lose your job to a guy like Dante Trader. Or not lose your job, but let it be known that you're expendable and you might only be a 1-year stopgap. You know what I mean? So that's just going to me, that's like, okay, this is going to be more opportunities potentially for that safety room. And I'll be honest with you, I'm higher on the young safeties more so than I'm higher on the young corners. Now, I was high on Cam Smith coming out, but his work ethic has been, and we're at where we're at right now, okay? Ethan Bonner, I like the athleticism, but what sticks in my mind is like, okay, why didn't Weaver give him the opportunities and love him as much as Fangio did the year before? I like the upside of BJ Adams, but we don't know what he is yet. He hasn't even gone through a training camp yet. I like Storm Duck, but again, he's got to prove he's ready to lock in some serious minutes, you know? Whereas I feel a little bit more sure about the trajectory of guys like Trader and McMorris, but we'll see. We'll see. So, yeah. And here's just some more on the whole situation. And I love the pick that David Verones chose for Eichenberg. Worn down and worn out. Player report day at the start of NFL training camp is often a day where certain injuries are revealed. A few key Miami Dolphin players will be sidelined for the start of camp and Wednesday's first team practice, the team announced Tuesday. Offensive lineman Liam Eichenberg and new tight end Darren Waller were placed on the physically unable to perform list. Meanwhile, new safety Ifeatu Melifonwu landed on the football injury list. The nature or extent of their injuries is unknown, as teams aren't required to declare such details before the start of the regular season. Waller is coming out of retirement to join the Dolphins after a trade from the Giants, who held his rights and even held an introductory press conference earlier Tuesday. His situation could be as simple as merely returning to football shape before taking the practice field. Eichenberg, a starter at guard on last season's offensive line, re-signed with the Dolphins this offseason, but figures to be slated backup duties after Miami acquired free agent James Daniels and traded up in the second round to draft rookie Jonah Savaiinaea. Melifonwu came over to the Dolphins as a free agent after starting his career with the Lions. Both Eichenberg and Melifonwu were seen participating in OTAs and mandatory minicamp more than a month ago. With Eichenberg now sidelined, we're going to get into what they did. And they went out and they signed, obviously, Daniel Brunskill and more. So there's some more info on those injuries. But heading back to this for a second, let's talk about them adding Daniel Brunskill. All right? Now, if you were here in 2023, in October 2023, every year on Fin2 Deep, me and right before the trade deadline, me and Neil give you our top trade deadline targets for the Dolphins. We do it every year. In 2023, I had 2 players on that list who are now on the Miami Dolphins. I had Daniel Brunskill and I had Jordan Brooks. Daniel Brunskill, though, this is a great fit. Started his career off in San Francisco, right? He's a scheme fit. I mean, this guy's a scheme fit. And then what's even better is, where'd he go after that? He went to Tennessee. Who'd he play with in 2023? Aaron Brewer. You know, and this is a guy who in 2021 and 2020 was logging over 1,000 snaps. He had over 2,300 snaps in those 2 years. So this is a guy who, he's got flexibility. He can play left tackle, right guard. He can play center, right? He can move around everywhere for you. And this is a guy who's got familiarity with already some of the players on this offensive line and with some of the coaches on this team. I love this move. I think this is listen, this guy can play literally all positions. He's taken snaps at right tackle, right guard, left guard, center, and left tackle in the NFL. I think this is a fantastic move for the Miami Dolphins. I think this guy, you want my honest opinion? I mean, this could make Eichenberg expendable. And I know I've seen a few people in the chat, like Wayne D and Russell, they want us to sign Isaiah Wynn. Guys, I don't think they're bringing back Isaiah Wynn because of his injury history. I think the next on the docket is going to be a cornerback. But man, this is a player who's a scheme fit, who's a fit with certain personnel. I mean, I like this. I like this a lot. Now, I would say he's a stronger pass blocker than run blocker. But I'm going to tell you this much, and people are, say what you will. I don't care. To me, in my eyes, this is an upgrade over Eichenberg. I am hoping he comes in, and I am hoping he just picks it up from day one, and he can show them what a real versatile utility piece on the offensive line looks like. That's where I'm at. I'm hoping for this guy's success out of the gate because I want him to open eyes and then look at each other and say, why were we wasting our time with Liam Eichenberg? So yes, I want Daniel Brunskill to take Liam Eichenberg's job. Yes, I do. And this is probably the best offensive line depth signing we've had next to Isaiah Wynn. Because remember, Isaiah Wynn, a lot of people, well, not me, but a lot of people thought he was going to, remember the media was trying to argue, they brought him here to play right tackle, and I was raising my hand saying, no. They're going to move him to left guard. They're going to put him back to where he played in college. I would say, in terms of depth, this is probably the best depth piece they've added. Next to Isaiah Wynn. Isaiah Wynn ended up becoming a starter for us. This is better than anything they've added. This is better than Jackson Carman, right? Robert Jones, name it. So, Jack Driscoll. This is way better than Jack Driscoll. So I'm a fan of this move. This is some serious depth that we can actually, do we want him starting all 17 games? No. But if someone has to miss a game or two, we got a guy who can fill in. And we got a guy who's competent and can fill in. That is the key word. The Sesame Street word of the day. Competent, competent, competent. We've got a competent depth piece. Oh my God, we're on track. You signed James Daniels. You signed, you drafted Jonah Savaiinaea. Now you signed Daniel Brunskill. What is happening here? We're starting to make good moves on the offensive line. Oh my God, I'm here for it. I'm telling you right now, I'm happy about that. All right. So let's get into some media availability, right? And we had some things I wanted to talk about here. Let's start off with Bradley Chubb. And I got to say this. I noticed one thing. Since I called the media out, they're starting to ask better questions. And I'm looking at you, Joe Shad. All right? Notice that the media is starting to ask a little bit more tougher and better questions now that your boy called them out a couple months ago and put them on notice. Just saying. Anyways, let's go over what Bradley Chubb had to say today.
Bradley, how hungry are you to get back out there after missing the season?
Starving, man. It's been a long time coming. OTAs was kind of just dipping the foot in, getting around the guys again, feeling that team, that camaraderie. But now training camp is going, the seasons, you see it on the horizon. It's just about taking each and every day. And that's what I miss the most about this, honestly. Like, the training camps is never fun. It sucks, you're doing it each and every day, but you're doing it together. And that's what I missed about it. That's what it's all about. So I'm just excited to get back to that.
Bradley, we heard a lot the end of last season that accountability needed to be increased within the building. Yeah. Have any steps been taken over the course of this offseason, or has that message been sent as you guys re-enter the building?
Yeah, message has been sent. Everybody's received it. We working as a team to set that standard for ourselves, for this team, and what we wanted to look like each and every day. Over the offseason, had guys texting each other, making sure we holding each other to that standard in the offseason, you know what I mean? So it's been sent for sure. The message is loud and clear, and everybody is moving accordingly.
What do you think of the potential of this pass rushing group with you, Jaylen, and Chop, and maybe the possibility of you guys lining up in different spots?
Potential through the roof, man. It's about just putting the work in now, We got the names, we got the track record of what we've done on the field. Now it's just about putting it all together, staying on the field together, getting close with one another. Like, we're all close already, but, just keeping that tight-knit bond and understanding that we all need each other, you know what I mean? Me helping out Chop and Chop helping out JP and vice versa and all that, it's not going to do nothing but make us better. And, no egos in the room. And not even just those three guys, man, us three guys. We got, a room full of dogs, a D-line with Zach and KG and the other JP, Biggers, all those guys, man. It's going to be fun just to get everybody in the mix, get moving, and see how things shake up.
What have you thought of Kenneth Grant on and off the field so far?
He carries himself in a great manner, man. You would think he's older than what he is for sure by how he just walks around, how he approaches the work, how he, just asks questions, always trying to be a sponge. I can see him attached to Zach's hip all the time, just trying to learn different things because, Zach's been doing it for a while. And, just a guy that I see a bright future ahead of him. As long as he keeps his head down, putting in the work, and he's a massive dude. So, he got that part covered. It's just about doing it day in and day out.
I love what he said about Kenneth Grant. I had to include that, man. He basically saying Kenneth Grant is attached to Zach Sieler's hip, just being a sponge. It reminds me of Chop Robinson last year being attached to Zach Sieler as well as Teron Armstead. Like, that's why I wish Teron Armstead was here for a guy like Kenneth Grant. I really do. But I love, we could have added, I know we didn't add Kenneth Grant to our breakout candidates list. Really should have added him to it, but I think that's a foregone conclusion. He's going to break out. Everyone knows. I expect that from him. I expect him. I said this in my prospect profile. With all the attention everyone around him is going to be getting, I expect Kenneth Grant to eat, and it could start eating early on. Right? So I thought that was absolutely fantastic to hear. Also, he did say another thing that I didn't play the clip of. He was asked about like what the media thinks, and he said, they talk, we do. I like how he addressed the accountability issue. And he's one of the people I wanted to hear from because I know he was not happy with that whole Tyreek thing and how it went down last year. So I thought that was very, very, very good. And also, when he said he's starving, I mean, Bradley, you didn't have to tell me for me to know you were starving. This man took a massive pay cut. Could have gone somewhere else, but said, nope, I want to come back. I want to be a captain in that locker room, and let's go get a playoff win. I mean, Bradley Chubb, I think he's in a situation right now where he's out to not only prove to his doubters, but to himself that he's still that guy. Now, I do know the Miami Dolphins, they don't want to give up precious snaps for Chop and allow Chubb to eat into Chubb's development. So we'll see how that plays out. It's going to be very interesting. And I got to correct myself from something I said yesterday. Jaylen Phillips is in his 5th year this year. So, Chop balls out, he's going to put him in a very, very, if Chop balls out and Chubb balls out, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with Jaylen Phillips, man. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do with Jaylen Phillips. All right, Tyreek met with the media. Now, some people were out here talking about, like, oh, he said that his kid's favorite wide receiver is Justin Jefferson, and that was a talking point. But I felt there were better talking points that we should go over and discuss. There's over 500 of you in the room right now. Do me the favor, smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Let's get into what Tyreek Hill said, because he was asked about his goals of 2,000 yards, and he was asked about when he quit on the team.
As far as your pursuit, you had mentioned getting 2,000 yards, which I think could fit into the offense.
Right.
How big of a goal is that for you, and what do you think that would do for this offense and for this team?
I think it'd be great, man. But at the end of the day, football is all about winning games. Being there for your team in those big moments. Those crucial downs like third down, and just being available, man, for my team, man. 2,000, I feel like that's just a personal goal that I would like for myself, but I feel like the even bigger goal for myself and then also for this team is just to win games, win playoff games and, continue to build from there, man. So.
Everybody remembers the final moment where you basically said you wanted out.
Yeah.
But that was the first year that you had never qualified for the playoffs.
Right.
What were the emotions going through your mind at that point?
Well, my whole life, man, I've always been a competitor, dog. My grandparents raised me that way. I enjoy winning. I mean, I know how to lose, but in those moments like that, I need to be better as a leader, and I realized that throughout this whole entire offense because ever since me and my family got here, this fan base has been special to us. Showing up to like different engagements. Whenever we meet people in the community, they've been great. So as a leader of this team and also as a leader of this community, I just need to be better in that sense. And then just know like there are like a ton of like little kids that like look up to me as a player, as a role model. So I just got to remind myself of that, you know what I'm saying, and then just take hold of that and then own it. So that's why this year, man, I've been this whole entire offseason, I've been busting my tail. Me and my dad, I told my dad, I said, I want to see what it looks like whenever I focus just on football and I just focus on myself and family, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I really haven't been given the best version of me, of Tyreek, my whole entire career. You know what I'm saying? I've always been trying to be here, be there, but me being able to like slow down a little bit, train, and bust my tail for myself and then also for this community and this team, I feel like it'll be worth it. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to see what that version of myself looks like. So I'm looking forward to it. Today was our conditioning test, and at 31 years old, I must say I haven't lost a step. So I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what I will say? He looks rocked up. He looks bricked up. He looks absolutely great. So I mean, I'm not hating him on him at all, man. In that sense. Now I do find it funny. He talked to his dad about, well, what if we just focus on football, brother? You've been trying to focus on racing Noah Lyles. So, but you know, I think another guy who's a candidate for, he sees the disrespect. If anyone pays attention to the outside noise the most, Tyreek Hill is one of those players. He sees the disrespect in terms of him and Tua, what the media thought of him the years as a top 5 quarterback receiver duo to now they've dropped to like 10 or top 12. He sees all this stuff. And I think, you know, he's got a chip on his shoulder, but the problem is so does Jaylen Waddle, and Jaylen Waddle's looking to ball out. Now, in terms of him quitting, see what I said? They're asking the tough questions now that I called them out. I love it. In terms of him quitting, though, you know, I just think that's just something that the damage is already done. No one's going to get over that. I just don't think anyone's going to get over that. Connor Verhagen says, what was your favorite draft pick this year? KG or Savaiinaea or someone else? Well, they both made my man crush list. If you go look at the night, 2 nights before the draft, I was mocking Kenneth Grant to us. I actually had Savaiinaea going before we picked, but this is tough for me because Neil really started the KG noise, and then me and him started up the train, and I had been saying since December, January that I wanted them to draft him or Will Johnson, and then I added Armand Membo to that mix, and those were basically the 3 guys I wanted at 13. So, you know, me and Neil were driving that KG hype train, and I was really pounding it at 13 when a lot of people thought that if we went defensive tackle, we would go another way, right? Like everyone thought we'd go like Derek Harmon or someone else like that. And that, you know, I was like, no, Kenneth Grant. And also I had been reporting since January to my patrons and channel members that the Dolphins, from what I had heard, were, you know, locked in on Kenneth Grant at 13. So that's a tough one. Savaiinaea, I can take full credit for starting that Savaiinaea to Miami Dolphin train. You know, again, another player I was talking about in November, December time. And then, you know, when he was at the Senior Bowl, I tweeted out a clip of Savaiinaea and how I wanted him. You know, I was talking constantly on X in January as well about how I saw him as the perfect type of option at right guard, where if Austin Jackson gets hurt again, you can kick him out to right tackle, and then it's goodbye Austin because he can't stay healthy. So it's hard, man. These were two draft crushes of mine that I campaigned for. So they're even for me. You know, that's the best thing I can say. They're even for me because I campaigned for both of them for like quite some time before the draft. So, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be Jonah Savaiinaea, because, you know, everyone knew who Kenneth Grant was. When I was talking about Jonah Savaiinaea way a long time ago, no one really knew who he was, and no one was really watching him. And I remember when people started listening to me on X and people started hyping up Jonah because of what I was saying about him, I remember people writing articles about how he wasn't a scheme fit and stuff and being like, what are these people watching? So I actually had people trying to counter the hype train that I was building for Savaiinaea. It was a wild ride, but if gun to my head, I'd take Savaiinaea. But I think both are exactly what we need in terms of tone setters on each side of the trenches, right? I really do think that both of those guys have that ability. So I'm hyped for both. I'm equally hyped for both of these guys. All right. Now, Darren Waller, he said some interesting things as he was asked about why he came to Miami, why he chose Miami, and his relationship with Frank Smith. This is what he said today.
You just kind of tell us, said you wanted to play for the Dolphins, like from your perspective, how it all came together to come here?
Yeah, it was the timing of that was really strange. I got this. I heard this phone called a light phone last February, so I'm not really hip to anything that really goes on the internet anymore. So it was like the timing of that happened to be when I called him and was like, hey, I'm reaching this point in just my life journey where I feel like it'd be something that I want to do to come back to football, and this is a place where I'd want to do it. I was content in my retirement, but I also felt like this was an opportunity for me to, if this is my last chapter playing football, to close it in a way that's different than I did before, and one that allows me to tap into the joy of why I started doing it in the first place. So, Drew helped orchestrate that. He's the best in the business, and I'm just grateful to be here.
So you had no knowledge that Johnny had just been traded before you made the call to Drew, or?
No, from what he told to me, it was being orchestrated at the time that I called him. But when the deal was done, I had no knowledge that it was being done.
Darren, you, Casey Hens from WPLG in Miami. Nice to meet you. You obviously are reconnecting with Frank Smith. Can you just speak a little bit about that relationship and how much that played into it?
Frank is my guy, man. So when I got claimed off the Ravens practice squad in 2018, I got to the Raiders, and he was my tight end coach. Met me at the door, and one of the first things he was interested in was, what do I need as a man, in my newfound sobriety, whatever I need to just be solid as a human being. And then that struck me a lot. And then just his knowledge of the game, the culture that he created, not only in our room but just with how he interacted with players, I thought was rare in coaches I had seen to that point. And some of the best years of my career were with him in the room, and just some of my best football memories overall. So to be able to reconnect with him is amazing.
So why Miami? Is it the city, the team? Did you have connections that made you want to come here?
Just answering the question about Coach Frank Smith was a big deal of why I wanted to be here, and just seeing the way that they do things, like the way Mike is so innovative, and the weapons that are on offense. And I got guys like Alec Ingold is a friend of mine from playing with him before, and how highly he speaks of just being here, not only for the team and the community. So it was somewhere I definitely wanted to be.
How would you describe your approach to blocking?
I feel like blocking is something you gotta get in the mix. You gotta get in there and get dirty. You know what I'm saying? I was made aware of the clip that went viral with the guy that I did the interview with the Bills, and I understand how people could probably take that a certain way of me not wanting to block, but I'm somebody that fully understands that there's dirty work that needs to be done in football, especially with all the guys that we have making plays. You got to get in the mix and do things you don't want to do. I've done that numerous times in my career, so that is who I am. That's the effort I'm going to bring into blocking. It may not be just the whole game running power right behind me, but there are definitely a lot of creative ways in which I have no problem getting my hands dirty.
Let's go, man. I talked about this when we added Waller. I said the good thing about the situation is because of the Frank Smith connection, and how adamant he was about coming here, is the guy wants to be here. And if anyone's going to get the most out of Darren Waller at this stage in his career, it's going to be Frank Smith. That's just the fact of the matter. It's going to be Frank Smith. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, I think Darren Waller, if we get 75% of the guy Art Stapleton saw 2 off seasons ago at Giants training camp, we're going to be cooking. And basically, he's got almost unattainable incentives to get him up to $5 million. But even if he does miraculously reach them, you're going to be getting that kind of production for at most what Jonah would have cost you this year on his original deal, with a little over $4 million. So I just see this is a high reward, not much risk move for the Miami Dolphins. Now, should they go out and sign a Noah Fant? I don't know if they're going to have the cap space. Now, we've talked about it. They could give Zach Sealer money. They could give Aaron Brewer money. They could give Jordan Brooks money. They could restructure Minka to give him some money this year. There's moves they can make to create cap if they really need to. But, man, I heard that they saw the shape Darren Waller was in, and they jumped all over it. So here's hoping that they get some production out of Darren Waller. Guys, tomorrow the pads come on. And shout out to Lemony Crawdad. He says, honestly, so happy you held the media's feet to the fire. They were getting complacent and lazy. Look at Joe Shad goes from asking these rookies if they're going to buy beachfront property and what they ate for lunch to now he's asking Darren Waller if he's going to block and how he feels about blocking. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? You know, hey, man, I may have taken some arrows in the back and some knives in the back from people behind the scenes in this community, but I've had a lot more people hop in my DMs that are in the media, whether it be for the team or whether it be the general media, hit me up saying that they know I know ball, they support me, et cetera, just like I've had how the fans have had my back in this situation. So if it brings better answers to you, the fans, I'll do it all day, right? Guys, smash that like button. Over 500 of you in the room. I will be back tomorrow as practice kicks off with some shells and some light work. So I'll have it covered tomorrow. See you on the next one. Fins up all day, every day.